HIMS stock has had some super wild swings this year. So check this out. So it started out the year at roughly $24 all the way up to $66 and then back down to $25 and then up again close to $66, but now it's settled around $52. And you're probably wondering what the heck is going on here. Should you buy? Should you hold? Should you sell? Is this a long-term investment or is this one that you should buy for short-term moves? Well, on this channel, we use ChatGPT to cut out the bias and the analyst noise, and we try to get to the bottom of each stock we evaluate, and that's what we're going to do today. By the end of this video, you'll be able to decide if HIMS stock is one that you should buy, sell, or hold. All right, let's dive in. So for short-term traders, this part of the video isn't for you. So as long-term investors, we want to understand what we're buying. So we start with very simple prompts in ChatGPT. First, just to understand the business that we're buying. So here's the prompt that I usually use. I ask ChatGPT, explain to me in plain English what the company does, who it sells to, who its major customers are, and what problem they solve for their customers. And here's the response that it gives me. So here we see that HIMS is primarily a telehealth platform. They offer telehealth consultations, prescriptions, and over-the-counter products for their customers, and they do this by offering a subscription model to those customers. More recently, as you know, the stock has been on a run, and here's why. It started offering weight loss treatments in 2024. They introduced GLP-1 injections, also known as semaglutides, for weight loss at a lower cost than the branded versions. But recently, the FDA's declaration that the semaglutide shortage has ended has resulted in the company phasing out its compounded versions, which you can kind of think of as generic versions of the same drugs, which has now forced the company to transition to offering branded medications like Wegovy through partnerships with manufacturers. So that happened in late February, and that's really what drove the stock down. If you look at its high right around February 19th, that's when the FDA released its ruling that compounded semaglutides were not necessary anymore because there was now enough branded semaglutides. So that's a recent development to pay key attention to, and probably is going to influence our decision as to whether we hold the stock or not. It's also important to know who their target demographic is. So primarily millennial and Gen Z consumers looking for convenient, discreet, and affordable healthcare solutions. The platform is easy to access and it's discreet. So besides the recent changes with GLP-1s affecting the company, from a foundational perspective, this company offers a specific service to a specific group of the population, millennials and Gen Z, who are probably suspicious of traditional healthcare settings. So I then asked ChatGPT to dive deeper into its commentary around compounded GLP-1s and weight loss, and what are the differences between compounded and branded, as well as help us understand what drove the shortages in semaglutides in the first place, to give us a sense of if this is something that's likely to recur in the future, which would potentially benefit the stock. First, it helps us understand what semaglutides do, which is promote weight loss by mimicking the GLP-1 hormone. As you know, as Americans, we are obsessed with taking shortcuts to get to the results that we want. These drugs were not initially designed for weight loss, but they were found to be effective for that purpose, and so that has driven demand for the drug significantly. Now, at the core of the potential issue with what HIMS sold is the difference between compounded and branded semaglutides. So branded semaglutides are typically produced by large pharmaceutical companies. They are FDA approved and are very expensive, so cost typically at about $1,000 per month. Compounded semaglutides, however, are prepared in compounding pharmacies, not FDA approved, and cost $200. So right there you can see why there's been a lot of demand for what HIMS was offering. So on the 21st of February is when the FDA declared that the semaglutide shortage was over because Novo Nordisk could meet its current projected demand for semaglutides. And that's what resulted in the huge stock drop of 25% within about a week or so. So what is the company doing about it? The company decided to partner with the manufacturer of Wegovy to still provide semaglutide treatments to its customers, but the provision of that drug is going to cost significantly more. So we need to understand the impact on the business and by extension the stock. So in order to do that, what we ask ChatGPT next is how much of HIMS revenue was driven by the compounded versions of the drug and what percentage of growth was driven by it as well. So the company had $1.48 billion in revenue for 2024. About $225 million of that, or 15%, was driven by GLP-1 weight loss drugs. So 15% of its revenue roughly. But check this out. Its revenue excluding its GLP-1 offerings increased by 43% to over $1.2 billion. So the GLP-1 segment added an additional 26 percentage points to drive revenue up in total by 69%. So now the company, even after the discontinuation of the compounded drugs, still believes that it can drive $725 million in revenue for 2025, which is almost triple what it did in 2024. So one might look at that and decide that the stock drop has been unwarranted and it could rebound, but not so fast. The next question I then ask ChatGPT is to really dig deep and understand the business model of the company. So its revenue is driven by two key segments. So it's online revenues and then its wholesale revenues. Its online revenues are substantially the bulk of the revenue of the business, driving 97.3% in total. The company's customers are on a subscription model, and it saw its subscriber base grow by 45% to 2.2 million in 2024. So then I asked ChatGPT, okay, we know that online revenues drove 97.3% of its total revenue. I really wanted to understand what percentage of its revenue is driven by subscriptions versus the sale of drugs and other revenue streams. And unfortunately, the company does not report that information, so we are unable to tell how much of its revenue is driven by subscription. So think about it from the perspective of going to Costco. How much of Costco's revenue is driven by the $45 or $50 or $60 annual fee versus people going to Costco every week and spending a significant amount of dollars there? This is a very similar business in that sense. So we would have to make some assumptions that the portion of revenue that is fees paid on subscriptions is only a small percentage of its total revenue, and the bulk of its revenue is driven by spend on prescriptions, telehealth visits, and other services. So the next thing I wanted to understand was, how would this transition from the compounded GLP-1 drugs impact the company's gross margins? Now, when you're compounding drugs, even though they're lower priced, you can achieve a much higher gross margin because you're not buying those directly from manufacturers. Manufacturers have a higher hurdle because they sell FDA approved drugs. They have expensive facilities to maintain, a large number of personnel, which is reflected in the price of those drugs. $1,000 for a branded semaglutide versus $200 for a compounded semaglutide. So here we can see that in 2024, the gross margins for the company were around 81.25%. But in Q1 of 2025, gross margins had decreased by about 8% to 73.5%. And that wasn't a quarter which the full implementation of the GLP-1 transitioned from compounded to branded occurred. Now, it should be noted that the company is saying they're going to triple revenue from its weight loss business on a year-over-year basis. So even if gross margins go down to say 50%, the company would still be at least doubling its gross profit from last year, because last year it only did $225 million in revenue in its weight loss business versus $725 projected this year. So that's a significant increase in revenue, and even if the gross profit is less, it still would be at least double what last year's gross profit was. So that's something to keep in mind as we continue to evaluate the stock here. The next question I asked is to understand the financial performance of the company over time, to understand its growth rates and to see if its price is justified by its growth rate. You can see this company back in 2019 did just $83 million in revenue. In 2024, it did $1.48 billion in revenue. The compounded annual growth rate of its revenue is over 70%. That is incredible growth. Now, from a net income perspective, the numbers are a little goofy because the company was unprofitable for a few years, from 2020 to 2022, and only recently started generating a profit. So it generated net income of $126 million on $1.48 billion in revenue. But we would imagine that as the company continues to grow its revenue base, that its profitability would grow pretty fast as well. The company has always had strong gross margins, with its gross margins peaking in this last year at 81.3%. But we would expect some modulation there, especially as it transitions from compounded semaglutides to branded semaglutides. The company's got no debt, and its free cash flow is rising very fast. So the next question I ask is for ChatGPT to do a valuation check on the stock. So compare its price to earnings ratio, PEG ratio, price to sales, price to book, EV to EBITDA, and other metrics. Now, it's pulled in some data here that I am not sure is entirely correct. And one of the ways to tell is when you don't have data that's pulled directly from a search, it's usually because ChatGPT couldn't find that information. And so here it gave us a P of 39.93, but I know the stock's price to earnings ratio is significantly above that. So from time to time, we need to be cautious about the information that ChatGPT is providing us, but for the most part, it does a decent job. And the way to tell, like I said, is to always look for these bubbles that show where it's pulling the data from, because you can always double check the source. So I asked ChatGPT to help me understand the company's competitors. And here are the two other competitors it brought up, Telehealth and Health. Now, these are very different businesses. So Telehealth does comprehensive virtual care and is focused on the employer and insurer market. Health is focused on healthcare providers. HIMS is focused on millennials and Gen Z, like we talked about before, which is a core differentiator for the business. All of its marketing is targeted at that core demographic, and as a result, it's grown really fast. It doesn't have any middleman between the company and its core demographic, and that has resulted in it being able to gain a lot more traction a lot quicker than companies like Telehealth and Health could. So I asked ChatGPT for a sentiment snapshot. So what do analysts think about the stock, and what do retail investors like you and I think about the stock? So to pull information from places like Reddit, Twitter, StockTwits, and visualize any sentiment shifts if possible. And so here you can see the consensus rating on the stock as a whole by analysts, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just a data point for us. But that's only one data point for us. We shouldn't necessarily take that as gospel. Some analysts are on the high end saying to buy the stock up to a $61 target, which is actually pretty close to its current value, which is roughly around $52. Others think the stock will underperform, and some say to hold, and others downgrade the stock. From retail investors like you or I, the sentiment is mixed. So some are predicting this stock is going to drop to around $40 at the end of May. Others are cautious, and obviously you always have the bulls and a stock like this that has a lot of volatility associated with it. As you know, the stock has been on a tear, up a ton year to date, over 100%. So if price momentum is your key core value in deciding whether to buy a stock or not, this one would be a buy. But that's not our only data point. For those of you that like to look at technicals, ChatGPT is also able to help you understand where the buy signals lie. So we give it a prompt to look at the stock chart and explain its technicals to us. RSI, MACD, support, resistance, and others. And it puts together this table showing us the moving averages, where the stock price is currently today, and what that signals. So it has all buy signals for all its moving averages from the 20-day all the way to 200-day. Now, it's a very volatile stock. So at 3.29, that's significantly more volatile than the market. So that's something to pay attention to. So if you're a long-term investor in this business, just know that it's going to take long rides up and long rides down. So one of the strongest parts of using ChatGPT to evaluate a stock is you could tell it, based on all the analysis you've done, to make a bull and bear case for the stock, and it'll put together that summary for you. But the trick is not to ask it this question first. You want to ask it after it's done all this analysis, because it's going to use all that context to develop a succinct bull and bear case for the stock going forward. And that's what it's done here. So it puts together this table showing us its bull case. So strong revenue growth in Q1 of 2025 of over 100%. It achieved profitability in Q1. It grew its customer base, and its average revenue per user has grown again to $84, or 50% on a year-over-year basis. It's a leader in the DTC telehealth market, and some analysts are bullish on the stock. Now, from a bear case perspective, the shift from compounded to branded GLP-1 drugs is a headwind for the stock. It spends a ton of money on marketing, trying to reach millennials and Gen Z customers. If customers find the GLP-1s too expensive, they might leave, ask customers to go find alternatives. And then this one is a pretty big one. It's competing with the pharma giants who are making these branded drugs. So those giants aren't incentivized to really work with them or give them a price cut. Those pharma giants would rather sell those stocks through the traditional channels, which is through doctors' offices, pharmacies, and other traditional channels like that. So I asked ChatGPT about the risks associated with investing in stock, and I asked it to rank those risks from high to low. And you can see that regulatory risk is the highest risk facing the stock, especially with the transition of the compounded semaglutides to branded, which is going to impact its margins. So that's high impact. And then it's an expensive stock right now. So I know its P ratio is roughly in the 76 range or so, but as we know, an expensive stock doesn't mean that it shouldn't be bought, because if it's growing fast enough to compensate for its price, then it could still be a stock that's worthwhile to invest in. It's got some competitive pressure, like I said, from the large pharma manufacturers, and that's something to pay attention to. And then it spends a lot of money on marketing costs. So the last question I asked ChatGPT is, would you buy the stock now? And ChatGPT is not a financial advisor, neither am I, but it's able to provide us with context around how to think about buying the stock. So the strengths of the business, explosive growth, like we talked about, its brand strength with its core consumer base is huge. And millennials and Gen Z is only going to become a growing portion of our total population. And when you win them, they could be customers for life. The company is just achieving profitability over the last 6 months or so. And even with the transition from compounded semaglutides to branded, the company still projects to triple its revenue from its GLP-1 and weight loss segment. Now, if you're bearish about the stock, the valuation is high. The GLP-1s are going to drive margins down, which could also impact customer retention if the customers can't get that drug anymore. And then it's got regulatory overhang associated with the semaglutide transition. So who's HIMS stock best suited for? If you're a growth investor, if you're a thematic investor, so you want to bet on the GLP-1 mega trend, and if you're a long-term holder, it could be a good stock for you. If you are a value investor or looking for growth at a reasonable price, this is not a stock for you. So what do you think about this analysis by ChatGPT? Does this give you more confidence to either invest in the stock or to sell it? Why don't you comment below and let me know what you think? Also, you might want to check out this video where ChatGPT picks stocks that actually beat the market, or this video where I walk you through how to analyze stocks with ChatGPT. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. We're currently in the midst of a ChatGPT versus the S&P 500 challenge, and we're watching to see who's going to win that battle. So I look forward to having you on this journey as we see who wins. See you in the next one.